And I'm very happy to be debating Dr. Craig, the one Christian apologist who seems to have put the fear of God into many of my fellow atheists.
I have to disagree with Jim Dennison when he says atheism isn't falsifiable. On the contrary, I think it is very plausibly falsified. I would like to come back to an earlier point, if I may, too, and that is the notion that atheists are somehow the intelligentsia among us and so forth. I think this is just completely false. The spate of new books published by the new atheists like Harris and Hitchens and Dawkins and so forth are not sophisticated books intellectually. These are, for the most part, angry, bitter diatribes against religion. And while someone like Dawkins may be a good scientist in his field, when he begins to talk about philosophy and theology, he is merely a layman. And The God Delusion is a very unsophisticated book intellectually. As a philosopher, I was just appalled at the arguments he gives in that book. It is an embarrassment, really, I think.
Well, I can agree, and I suspect Michael may as well. That
I think he would, too.
If you look at the reviews, this man is respected in his field.
Yes.
But this book, if you look at the reviews, they're quite damning. I used to work with Chris Hitchens. He's a bright guy. He's a fun guy. This is not a profound book. It's a fun book in many ways. So I think most people would agree that the three you mentioned in particular, Dawkins, Harris, and Hitchens, what they've written is not first-class scholarship. However, there are first-class scholars and genuine intellectuals who do not believe at all in God.
Certainly there are, Michael, but there has also been, especially over the last 50 years, since the late 1960s, a literal revolution in my discipline, philosophy, in the Anglo-American world, which has brought about a renaissance of Christian philosophy, such that some of our finest philosophers at our most prestigious universities are now outspoken Bible-believing Christians.
Sir?
Where is this philosophical revolution taking place?
In the Anglo-American realm.
The ones dominated by assumed atheists, like people like Ayer, people like Bertrand Russell, who really dominated. Like, well, I'm sorry, I just never have heard
What was the first
this.
thing you said?
I think you meant Ayer.
Oh,
A.J. Ayer.
A.J. Ayer.
But that's a bygone generation, Michael. I'm talking about today.
Okay, let's talk about people from today, like Quine, right?
He's dead too.
Well, he died only a couple of years. Like,
so did Freddie Ayer, but I mean...
let's talk about, let's name names, people like Richard Swinburne at Oxford University, Robert and Marilyn Adams at Oxford, Brian Leftow at Oxford, people like Alvin Planning at University of Notre Dame, Peter Van Inwagen, Dallas Willard, Eleanor Stump. I mean, I could go on and on naming names at top universities in America and England who are outspoken Christians, such that the face of my discipline, compared to the 1930s and 40s, when Russell and Ayer were dominant, has been utterly transformed.
But the cause hasn't got to be God.
Well, remember I gave an argument for thinking that this cause is timeless, spaceless, immaterial, enormously powerful, and personal.
I think it's a computer.
Well, that wouldn't... computers are designed by people.
No, this is a self-designing computer.
Timeless.
Timeless.
Well, that's a contradiction in terms.
Why is it timeless? What's contradictory about it?
A computer has to function. It takes
no,
time.
this is a special computer.
Yeah, but it has to be logically coherent.
Oh, it's logically coherent?
Yes, you have to be logically coherent.
Oh, no, this computer is amazing.
No, besides, it would have to be, as I said, a personal being.
No.
A computer is a physical
Not this computer.
object.
Oh,
well, then,
no.
Okay, see, what you're doing is you're actually, what you're calling a computer is really God. A non-physical, By the way, I hear that the word is out on campus that between the two of us, Austin Dacey is hotter. Now that may be the case, but all I can say is this: I'll bet you my wife is hotter.
Came from Sir Martin Ryle. In Britain he's called the Astronomer Royal. He's the Queen's own appointment of the most distinguished astronomer.
Martin Rees.
Excuse me, Rees. Did I say Ryle? Martin
Yes.
Ryle.
I have a question related to this timeline issue. You mentioned what will eventually happen to the Earth when the sun becomes a red giant and incinerates the planet, and there will be a very different sort of creature existing at that time than what we see today. Suppose that humankind continues to exist for another 98,000 years on this planet. In that case, it would mean that Christ came right in the very middle of human history rather than near the very end. Would that ameliorate your objection to any degree if Christ came right in the middle?